finesse of navigating. All right, and then we've addressed the shooting. It's not always all the time. Hello there today, and what we're going to do is we're going to add a controller support for our ships. If you're going to do, in my opinion, it's probably a lot better to use controller support if you're going to create a game where you can have a local co-op. If you're going to, it's going to be a single player. It's not necessary. You can stick with your keyboard and your mouse, but in general, controllers can add a little bit more in-depth gameplay. It has a little bit better feel. So what we're going to do is we're going to go under the player ship, and this is going back to our thing. We're still trying to keep as little out of the individual ships as possible and make sure we're always updating just one location for our code. So if the player ID is 1, and I'm going to take this code I've used elsewhere in a different game, but we'll talk about it. And you usually can find this pretty readily online about people talking about it. So we're going to talk here. We have the direction. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to add let's see, make sure this is correct. Direction. All right. So in our direction, we're going to add an OR statement. So we're going to say if the gamepad's axis value for the 0 controller, 0 means the 0 controller, so the first controller, make it so this would be going right. So if we're pushing it to the left, I think. We'll double check this. And then minus for using the keyboard, or less than, and let me double check this real quick. Yeah, less than negative. So what we're trying to do here is, are we going to the right or are we going to the left? And we're also going to use the keyboard to actually, or the controller to add a little bit more in-depth, some value to what we're doing. We'll call it spin rate. So how fast are we moving in one direction? So right now we're going to set it to our rotate speed. And we're going to move this down here to our rotate. So if we are moving in a direction, so this is saying if we're greater than, so this is all we're actually going to get. We're going to get a greater than or less than. So this is a true state. These will be values of 1. And then we're going to add another gamepad. Let's see, which other function do we have? Check pressed. So we have gamepad button check. So the 0 would be the first controller. And then these face values are the different buttons, depending on your controller. So face button 1, button 2, button 3, button 4. So we're just going to pick whatever this happens to map to. And then we are also going to check for our moving our ship. And we're going to set button 2 to fire. So we'll check, make sure this is correct, and then we'll worry about the spin rate. So I have it backwards. So let's just switch these. So yeah, we turn right, turn left, we move, and then we'll fix that because right now this will just create as many menu fires as possible. Kind of a fun little effect, but it's not exactly what we want, other than making sure we can't push them off screen anymore. I don't have controllers for this player yet. So we can go back and add controllers for the other player. Actually, might be easiest just to do this. Ordinal K and L is what we were using before. And we just change which controller. So if there's a secondary controller plugged in, it'll use a secondary device. So we'll change this to pressed. I think that's the way. Check pressed. So this way we are only firing as many times as you press versus continuously. So now that we have the directions actually working the way we want, right and left, what we're going to do is change our rotate speed. Okay, so our direction. I'm going to... Alright, let's think about this. So if our direction is not equal to 0, what I want to do is take this line again and get a value for it. So normally it would be this. That will give us 1, 0, 1, negative 1, 0, or 1. Then I am going, if it's still 0, we're going to, it's probably a more efficient way to do it, but this is what we're going to do for demonstration purposes. We'll clean it up at a different time. Because the only reason why I'm hesitant to put these together is if realistically you could use the keyboard and the controller at the same time, and then that would give you an added bonus if you're turning right or left. So you could turn twice as fast if you were. We don't want players. Sometimes you got to think about what a player would do to try to cheat, to try to address it. So this is unfortunately, off the top of my head, this is the best way to approach it. So for this player, we're either going to use the keyboard and always turn at the same rate, because there's nothing we can do about that. But if we have the controller, we're going to actually use the values of the controller to actually, we don't even need that. The value of the controller to get us the turn rate. Because what if we would just get this value, there's always like drift in a controller. So it's not always going to be 0, 0. It could be, 0.05 or zero point 0.1 just based on controller. So you don't want it to actually move unless we're greater than zero point 0.4. And then we're going to use that value to become a multiplier to our turn rate. So we'll have variable turn rate. At least that's the idea behind it. Oh. All right, so what did I miss? I guess some parentheses there. I did it again. All right, so I'll do this real quick. But yeah, this is what we wanted. We can do either a real slow turn or a faster turn. That's what I kind of wanted to do. Have a little bit more control over the finesse of navigating. All right. And then we've addressed the shooting. It's not always all the time. So yeah, there added controller support. Next time we'll add auto fire. And until next time, good luck cutting. Character moves around the screen. I don't have anything to keep him on the screen.